Just first of all, I want to note that we do have a quorum, and therefore the meeting is called to order. There are a number of new people that we have around the table, and also for individuals who are in Albany. And so I just want to go through to have introductions. The first thing I'd like to do is to introduce Elizabeth Charias, who is taking over as the special assistant. It was the role that Nancy Nichols had, and so for those who are in Albany, you can see who she is, and welcome on board.
Welcome aboard.
Maybe we'll just go around the room, just again, so that we know who's around. Steve?
Yes, Brian Oberfeld, trustee, construction fund.
Bob Lemieux, Executive Director of Design and Construction at CUNY.
Mike Stabios, Director of Construction, Daphne.
Dan Rothbaum, Controller.
John Antonelli, Deputy Executive Director of the Fund.
Philip Berry, Chair of the Fund.
Alan Liu, Executive Director of the Fund.
Gustavo Ordonez, Chief of Staff to the Fund. Albany.
Albany?
Trustee Victor Pichardo, Assembly Member for the 86th Assembly District.
Ed Moore, designee for Robert Mojica.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome all on board. So first item that I'd like to call to our attention, we have a number of different resolutions, and all of them are very good resolutions, in fact. And what I'd like to do first is to have individuals review. We have the minutes from December the 19th, and I want to entertain any amendments, ask if there's any question on the minutes at all. Hearing no amendments, then I'd like to call for a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. All approved, abstentions, and the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. And then the next is the resolution of the fund authorizing the upgrade of a fire alarm system at Baruch College's vertical campus building. And we have an explanation of this. There are a number of pieces that have come to us regarding fire alarms, and I'll tell you that this is not, when we approve these alarms, it is not a trite item, because of the fact of the number of fires that you have around the city, the destruction that it can cause to life and limb, and so I take a lot of pride in being able to have this type of a resolution, so that way we know that we're on top of these issues. So, resolved that the CUCF Board of Trustees approves the selection of CUCF to manage the fire alarm upgrades, including the execution of any related contracts. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the funding for the Baruch Fire Alarm Project in an amount not to exceed $5 million. So, any questions, or do you want to have an explanation?
Yeah. So the alarm system at Baruch is about 20 years old. The upgrades are necessary to meet the new New York City Fire Department code requirements. Design work is currently performed by Siemens, and the work has to be ultimately approved by the New York City Fire Department. So Siemens will install the system, including a new central monitoring station. The design completion is expected in May of 2020. Construction start is expected in July 2020 and conclude in October 2021. The project is funded with $5 million from state capital funds.
Okay, thank you. The question that I have is, have we, in the last 5 years, had any, and you may or may not know this, but it's just something that's important, have we had any fires at all at any of our facilities?
Yes, we've had fires. There was a fire at City College in Compton Hall about 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There was a fire at City College about 2 weeks ago on the loading dock.
Right.
And there was, I think, a fire very recently in Boylan Hall at Brooklyn College.
Mm-hmm.
None of these were large fires, except the Compton Hall one. That was pretty large. That was a $3 million restoration after we basically burned out the entire floor where the facilities people had been housed on that campus. it was caused by an overloaded electrical circuit. You know, in somebody's office, you had jack on jack, you know, an extension cord on extension cord, and basically they overloaded. Happened to be the fire director's office, so it's an interesting point.
Yeah.
He was terminated after that, but we've not had any real significant type of fires that I'm aware of in 12 years that I've been here. So, but and our colleges always have fire watches if there is an inactive fire alarm system. So the buildings are always protected in one way or the other. However, the fire department codes have changed dramatically over the last 15 years, and we're bringing all of our buildings up to code. And we've probably done 60 buildings already and another 20 or 30 in place. So this has been a major program over the last decade to just bring our buildings up to code.
Let me ask you this, what percent of our buildings are sprinklered? How does the change in the law affect us?
Well, buildings over 100 feet have to be sprinkled. That's the new code, I believe.
Right.
Most of our buildings are old and not fully sprinkled.
Okay.
Most of them are not high enough. The public spaces are usually sprinklered. We only have a few dorms. They are sprinklered. They're required to be. But we have about 11 buildings over 100 feet that are going to have to be sprinkled, and this is going to be something that it's something that we're working out with the fire department now.
Okay.
How we do it. They're going to be very expensive. This is a very expensive thing. You're probably talking $20-30 million in these buildings just to do the sprinkler.
Wow.
So it's not something that we look at lightly, and to the extent that we don't have to do it, and sometimes we don't, we'll work with the fire department to get an exemption. Not every building is going to get that, but we'll see. And funding is going, and a number of these buildings are on the community colleges, so we will need city funding first, followed by state funding. But I mean, they're going to be a little bit trickier. There are a couple like that. But for example, if you look at the big buildings, and there are only like 11 of them, 12 of them. And I mean, you've got at Kingsborough, you've got the library, which is more than 10 stories. At Queens College, you've got Kiley Hall, which is another big building, and there are several of them around. But it's not. We have 310 buildings or something. We don't have maybe 10 of them.
So we're working with the fire department.
Very much,
to get
very
into
closely.
Compliance with the new law. Okay,
Yes, very
that's
closely.
really where
Yeah,
I'm
it's really
coming from
important.
on this. I just,
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to move this item?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Actually, it was a very good conversation and educational from the standpoint of what we're doing and what our plans are. The next item that I'd like to move is related to the authorizing the replacement of the chillers and related work at Baruch College. And so resolve that the Board of Trustees approves the selection of CUCF to manage the Baruch chiller replacement project, including the execution of any related projects. And also be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the funding for the Baruch chiller replacement in an amount not to exceed $5 million. So if I can just get an
Yes,
explanation.
there's 3 750-ton electric chillers. These are, they range, two of them are 27 years old, one is about 20 years old. The chillers, 1 and 2 are corroded, cannot be repaired. Chiller 3 was not well maintained and was taken offline, and the repair cost was exorbitant. So the scope includes really to bring it compliant with code, and the installation of 3 new high-efficient centrifugal electric chillers complying with global warming potential ozone depletion requirements. Design is expected to be completed in November of 2020, this year. Construction is scheduled to start January 2021 and be completed in 2021, December 2021. Project is funded by $5 million from state capital dollars.
That's good. Any questions on this item?
I just have one.
Please.
So Bob, we're gonna have an engineer make sure the load is sufficient once
Yes,
we do this work?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
Just making
We'll do
sure.
that.
No, it's good.
And part of the problem with chillers like this or whatever is, if the water treatment in our campuses isn't proper, you degrade all the tubes, get eaten away because there's chlorine in the city water, and they've got to be chemically treated on a regular basis. About 15 years ago, we put into a program in place to basically make sure that it's audited on a regular basis. So going forward, we should get more life than we got out of these chillers going forward. Okay.
Is there a motion for this item? Is there a second?
Second.
Good, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much. So the next item has to do with the capital projects at the Graduate School University Center. Resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the funding for the common element capital projects in an amount not to exceed $1.750 million. And so maybe you can talk a little
Yes,
about that, if you don't mind.
So DASNY, on behalf of CUNY, owns a condominium unit at 365 Fifth Avenue, which is the former B. Altman department store. The unit is occupied, condo unit is occupied by the Graduate School and University Center. The condo unit that we own is 60.8% of the total condominium interest, which represents 544,000 square feet of space. The building is managed by George Comfort and Sons on behalf of the 4 unit owners of the building. The Board of Managers approved George Comfort and Sons' engagement of contractors to do primarily 2 things. One is the execution of Local Law 11, Cycle 8, which deals with facade inspections. And then the second area is the sidewalk reconstruction project. So apparently the waterproof membrane underneath the sidewalk paving has multiple leaks impacting the interior of the building. Sidewalk paving will be replaced. Interior repairs to remediate the existing leaks will be done. Phases 1 and 2 includes sidewalks around 34th, 35th, and then between Madison and 5th. Design is expected to be completed February 2016. Construction is scheduled to start April 2020 and conclude in June 2020. The share of the sidewalk project is $750,000, fully funded by state capital funds. The Local Law 11 Cycle 8, which is the facade work, is $1 million and is funded by state capital funds as well.
So you said it was the site of B. Altman's?
Yes, yes. Been there before?
Yes. In fact.
Great location.
Years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I was there the last day, I think. You know.
That whole area was a great shopping area
Yes.
at one time. So
The story of retail.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So all in favor, is there a motion to move this? And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, opposed, abstentions. Thank you very much. Pretty good project there. So the next, just staying with the Graduate Center, has
Yes.
to do with roof replacement design. And so I'd like to resolve that the trustees approve the funding for a roof replacement design project in an amount not to exceed $1.8 million. And so where would this roof replacement, why are we doing that?
Okay, so the roof was replaced in the mid-'90s and has reached the end of its useful life cycle. Design cost $2.9 million. CUNY share, because the 60.8 condo interest is about $1.78 million. Design is to start in May of this year, and the design is to be completed by May, a year from now, May 2021.
So what would be the useful year?
20, 30 years, 25, 30 years. That's
25,
what
30
you get out
years,
of
usually
a
that's
roof like this.
useful life.
Yeah, 'cause I was just one
How
right
old
above.
is this roof now, would you say?
About
It was,
almost 30 years.
Almost.
Almost
yeah.
30?
It was last
in the
replaced
90s.
mid-90s, 95.
Yeah, it's close to 30, 25, 30 years.
Correct. Here are some of the pictures, so you can see the deterioration of the roof. You know, it's just, it's still okay, but that's why we're doing the design now, so that in a few years after the design is done, we do the actual replacement. But it's just the natural sort of cycle of,
It's also a very large roof.
it's
Yes.
80,
Big building. Goes from
80
31
83,000 square feet.
correct. I mean, it's a whole city
It's a whole
block.
city block, right,
whole city
exactly.
block, right?
Wow.
It's the B. Altman building. yeah.
Correct, it's the entire city block.
So we're on the schedule. It's
Correct.
physically and functionally obsolete.
Yes.
Correct.
Getting there.
Yes.
Getting there, correct. Not yet. but
Almost,
getting there.
almost there.
Right,
All right, so now,
Being proactive.
so what
Being
we're doing right
proactive,
now
yes.
is the design,
right.
and then, you know, in time, so that when we need to replace it, you know, it'll be at its
Right.
end of its cycle.
So we don't want it to turn into a bigger problem.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Got it.
Because if we take on a lot of damage interior, the cost to
Or then
deal
we
with
have
that
to
would be
interior work.
enormous.
Get it.
Correct.
Well, that's good. So therefore, this group, trustees and board won't have to deal with this issue anymore.
I would think not. You never know, though.
In 30 years, you'll have, in 30 years, you'll have another,
Yeah.
another resolution.
I should be so lucky.
Usually, you know, roof installations, there's like a guarantee, you know,
Yeah.
whether you're buying a 30-year guarantee or 20, 25. It depends on the roof solution, right? So,
Well, look at the flashing, right?
Yes.
yes, yeah.
It's always key. Flashing is always key.
Yeah.
Do we move this item?
Yes.
Yes, the
I,
second.
I have a question.
Please, do.
Very quickly, it seems the price for this seems a little low. I mean, it's such a large roof. What's the likelihood that
It's
we're
just the
gonna have
design.
to?
This is just design.
This is just design, not
Oh, okay.
not the roof, actually.
Oh, okay.
replacement.
The actual repair will probably be 10 to 12 times this number.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems more likely.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you were right about that.
Sort of been a bargain.
So at some point, what will happen is that we'll approve, we'll have another
Yes, there'll be
resolution.
another
Correct.
resolution
We'll
for the
have to come back to the
construction,
board
You're right.
for
Right.
approval on the construction phase of it.
So probably at the next meeting, you think we'll?
Well, the design is going to be completed May 2021, so it's a year.
Yeah, so not
Yeah,
for
roughly a
a
year.
not
Take-
for a
It'll
while.
it'll be a year before we're ready.
It'll
Correct.
be a year from now before we come back to the
Be a
board.
new budget.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's correct.
We'll be in the new budget.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. So next is the item for the funding of audit and tax services
Mr. Chair,
for the fund. Yes, sir.
there was no vote.
Did you vote?
No.
No, we didn't vote.
We did
Oh,
not
you
vote.
didn't vote.
We didn't, vote, but we did a question, but we didn't
You
vote.
did have a
Right.
second, right?
All in
No.
favor? Opposed, abstentions? Thank you. Thank you very much. There was a question, but not a vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Gustavo.
So I'll now move the item for audit and tax services. Resolve that the fund, Board of Trustees approve and authorize the executive director to enter into a consulting contract selected pursuant to section C.2B of the fund guidelines for procurement contract and for audit and tax services for a 3-year period in amount not to exceed $225,000. And of course, the contract shall be subject to approval as to form by the general counsel of the fund.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to ask our Deputy Executive Director, John Antonelli, to report on this item.
Okay, this is really a great news story. I mean, this is one of those times where the stars aligned for us. The state increased the discretionary purchasing authority for, women and minority-owned businesses up to $500,000. So we were able to award to a prime contractor a 3-year contract for auditing services. And this is one of those times where generally these kinds of contracts would end up with subcontracts. This is a prime contract. So we're very happy about it, and it'll begin, for this fiscal year. So it'll be for auditing the financial statements as well as doing the tax returns.
And we currently have someone now doing that?
We currently have PKF O'Connor
Okay.
And yes, and they've presented to the board.
Right, okay.
So this will be for the new fiscal year.
This one, okay, fine.
Yes.
And good, so,
That's very good.
yeah, it is, minority woman, good.
No, good work.
All good.
Good work. Any questions about this item? I think, no. Do we move this item?
Sure, motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Those in favor, opposed, abstentions, it passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Good work on that. So the next item really has to do with the build-out for additional lease space for CUNY in the Heights and the center that's located at 5030 Broadway. And so resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the funding for the construction component of the build-out of the additional premises in an amount not to exceed $6.6 million. So this is so the question that I have, and you'll probably go through an explanation, this is a additional space and build-out.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe want to let you just.
So the CUNY in the Heights Center has occupied 15,000 square feet of classroom and office space at 5030 Broadway since June 2012, under a lease that expires May 31st, 2027. The coterminous lease amendment added 15,000 square feet to provide the Borough of Manhattan Community College with additional classroom and support space. The landlord is required to procure for the build-out of the additional space at CUNY's cost, subject to the same prevailing wage and MWBE requirements used in CUNY capital projects. CUCF previously approved funding of $950,000 for design services for the build-out of additional space. Construction estimate is $6.6 million, funded by both city and state funds. Design is to started October 1st, 2019. Design is to be completed January 15th, 2020, and construction is to start February 18th, 2020. Construction is to be completed August 1st, 2020.
So this is at Broadway and where? What street? What's the cross?
211th, so
Yes.
about 213th.
213.
Inwood,
Yeah.
it's sort of, it's
In
Washington
Inwood.
Heights / Inwood.
Yeah. And is this picture of the?
Yes, that's actually a picture of the front. Remember, we occupy the second floor. It's a slanted building, so the second floor on the Broadway side is the ground floor. And we're going to add a floor on top of it. Where you see the blue line,
Yes.
that's where we add in the additional space. But we currently operate out of the first floor at the 15,000 square feet. This is a rendering of what it's going to look like in terms of new furniture. On the left, that's the first floor. Here's the first floor again. Here's what the second floor is going to look like. And we've finished design. We're now ready to go to construction with, of course, the approval of the fund.
That's really good. So Manhattan Community and Ostos will be able to use this.
Yes, but mostly BMCC, and the idea is for credit-bearing courses. It used to be that the first floor, the 50,000 square feet, was mostly continuing educational courses, but now the focus is going to be on credit-bearing, almost like a satellite campus for BMCC in Washington Heights, hence the name CUNY in the Heights, which is the center's name.
It's interesting that when I went to BMCC many years ago, and we weren't downtown, so we had about 3 or 4 buildings in Midtown. It was an A building, a B building, a C building, and a D building.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
they were like on Broadway and like around 50th, 51st, and a little bit up. Then after a while, and this was in the 70s, right? So in the 70s when this was.
Well, prior to us building out the first floor of where they are currently are, they had used a space in the Catholic school, Good Shepherd, which was on 210th, 211th.
Right.
And that was all non-ADA compliant. There were steps all over. The fire alarms weren't real good, and so we basically built out space, much more modern space. And this is quite an addition to the neighborhood.
No, this is good.
And I should point out that on that note, that this space is not only ADA compliant, but if you see in this diagram, there is a elevator, right? So you see a staircase. I don't know if I can point it out towards the left of the building. Cliff, go right ahead. And it's important because we could have just used the building's own elevators to comply with ADA, but we were complying not just with the letter of the law, with the spirit of the law, because that would have required people to, this is a storage facility, so those elevators are really not for, used for by people. So we were installing a elevator inside the staircase so that the people with ADA issues can actually go from one floor to the other. To not only comply with the letter, but with the spirit of the law.
No, that's really good, because, you know, what we were doing other times is we're doing reconstruction or reconfiguring to make it ADA compliant, so I'm glad we're doing this ahead of time.
Ahead of time, correct.
Yeah. We have a new search that we're involved with right now for a new president of BMCC, so this would be a nice addition to that space.
Yes, and they're gonna control the space.
Yeah, that's good. Is there a motion to approve this item? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much for that. So, let's see. The next one is, it's a pretty large item, but I'll read it because it has to do with approving the Real Estate Solutions Group to provide real estate advisory services. So resolved that the, subject to the university's approving, University Board of Trustees approval, the CUCF that we approve and authorize the executive director to execute such documents as may be necessary for CUCF to engage RESG, which is what I'll call the Real Estate Solutions Group from now on, for an amount not to exceed $750,000 to perform task order real estate advisory services under the CUCF Real Estate Requirements Contract, including any extension of the CUCF Real Estate Requirements Contract with RESG to permit construction of RESG of the task order advisory services beyond August 2020, to August 28, 2020. And also be it further resolved that subject to the university obtaining the university's Board of Trustees funding approval, that the CUCF Board of Trustees authorize the Executive Director of CUCF to execute such documents as may be necessary for the transfer by the university to CUCF of such funding in an amount not to exceed $750,000 for CUCF to engage RESG to perform the task order real estate advisory services under the CUCF Real Estate Requirements Contract. So a lot of moving pieces here.
Yes, a lot of moving
you know,
pieces.
And we, you can see that the spirit of it is that what we're trying to do is to approve this, and then it goes to the University Board of Trustees, because we need to have that compliance in order to enact this. We don't have the authority, you know, to enact it in and of ourselves. Do you want to explain a
Yes.
little bit more
So-
why we're
so,
even
yeah, just a
engaged in
little bit. The CUNY's real estate portfolio consists of about 300 buildings comprising 29 million square feet of space. So CUCF had previously entered into real estate requirements contracts with 6 firms. So CUNY and CUCF are seeking a real estate consultant to review CUNY's real estate assets. And so CUCF solicited proposals from those 6 firms currently under contract to conduct this study. CUNY, CUCF have selected Real Estate Solutions Group to perform the advisory services in an amount not to exceed $750,000.
And I should also point out that, like the good story that John told, we like to also tell the good story that out of the six consulting firms that were under requirements contract from 2016 that we had them, one of them was a prime MWB.
Right.
And that wasn't the reason we picked. So RSCG is a prime. Wasn't the reason we picked them, but it was great that was a unanimous decision. But the review committee to select them, it was like an added bonus. All the other ones that were bringing to comply with the 30% NWB requirement, subs that would complete the 30. But it was great that RSCG is a prime, and so we were able then to award it to an actual prime. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
Just for the benefit of the board members,
Mm-hmm.
who are the 6 that do you recall?
So out of memory, it's John Lance LaSalle,
Okay.
Brazelton and Dunleavy.
Burson and Dunleavy,
Okay,
also Newmark,
of course,
Washington Square Partners,
okay.
right? They're like also another, what is that, 4?
Yeah,
All right, so I'm
4
missing
plus this 5.
5, so I'm missing
Missing
one.
one.
I
That's
can-
all right.
What, oh, go ahead.
It's giving you the answers.
Let me have the cheat sheet.
Yeah.
All right, so it's Joan Lang LaSalle,
Right,
HRNA Advisors, that's the one that we're missing.
okay,
Hamilton, Rabinowitz, and Alschiller.
okay. Now, my understanding was that whoever did the advisory services was gonna be prohibited from being a broker,
That is correct,
and that's still the case.
absolutely.
Fine.
There'll be
That's
no,
all- I-
otherwise there'll be conflict of interest if we execute on any of these properties.
Absolutely.
If they then procure them, whoever the developer is gonna be,
Just,
yes.
just on, for the sake of clarification, for the public record. Okay, good.
No, that's actually a very good point, trustee.
Fine. Just want it on the
And
record.
as part of the engagement, they have to sign both also non-disclosure agreement, but also a confirmation that they are precluded, not only them, but all their subs
Right.
from participating in any RFP or any development of any of these properties, correct?
Just for clarification.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
That's good.
Yeah.
Correct. And trustee, also, just to, a note of clarification, so CUCF does have the authority to actually hire this consultant, but because we don't have an identifiable project, we can't use capital funds. Hence why we need the authorization from CUNY to provide us with operating funds,
Transfer them to us.
transfer it. So that's the 750 so we're waiting for the authority for CUNY to provide us with the funds. And then we can but we have, these are CUCF contracts, requirements contracts, we can execute the task order, but because there was no identifiable project, they're gonna do a scan of all our properties.
So this resolution was based on consultation and agreements with Matt Sapienza, the
Right.
CFO and Senior Vice Chancellor, and also the new General Counsel and Senior Vice Chancellor, Derek Davis, weighed in, and so that everything fits into the CUNY rules and regulations as well as ours.
All right, so
Cross the Ts, we dot.
Cross the Ts,
Correct.
dotted the Is. Many sessions, and sometimes I think, 'cause my friend here lost some hair,
but we got it done, and so on March, which is the Facilities Committee's next meeting, our committee facilities in CUNY will be bringing a resolution for the board to authorize the transfer of that fund, $750,000 from CUNY to CUCF.
Got it.
Right, so that we can so we can then hire this consultant under the CUCF requirements contract to then do this work.
I think this is great work, and I think the Board of Trustees of CUNY will really appreciate, how we're trying to put together, an agreement that also facilitates other goals that we have within CUCF. So,
Yeah.
The other goals, CUNY's goals and the fund's goals is to leverage our assets and monetize the real estate holdings
Absolutely.
we have, and this is part of that process.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we just all have to be aware that when we start this process and as it evolves, there's gonna be enormous public scrutiny.
Yes.
Which is why I just wanna make sure, as you already confirmed,
Yes.
cross the Ts, dotted the Is, no one wants to be in the New York Post.
No, not
No,
no.
that's-
They have been triple dotted and triple crossed.
And the prospect of these opportunities has attracted many of the
Oh,
most
sure.
prominent real estate firms in this city and the country.
Oh,
Correct.
yeah, good, all good.
Okay.
When this is presented to the Board of Trustees, especially the question that was just raised, by Trustee Oberfeld, will we be able to have this information up front, so that way we don't have to wait for questions
Yes, we will,
about
because
that, so that way there, any issues that could come up, we can circumvent those.
the advantage of the interplay between CUCF and CUNY is that both Trustee Overfeld is in that facilities committee. Executive Director
Head of-
Lou is the senior vice chancellor for that committee.
Right.
And so we'll all be there with the information and answers, should anyone have the similar
And
questions.
also the new senior vice chancellor for legal affairs will be present, and
Right.
Yes.
the
And we
CFO,
work
Matt
hand in
Sapienza,
tandem
will
with
be
them
present
to
as well.
coordinate this.
That'll lay the groundwork now.
Yeah.
Correct.
This is all worked
Yeah,
out
got it.
with the other departments.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay, that's-
But it is a very exciting, because
Yeah.
this is sort of the first step to be able for us to do a review of all our assets. We know there's value there, but we want a consultant to basically verify what we think there is.
Right.
And then from there, identify the ones that we recommend to management, the ones that we should be implementing.
So ultimately, we'll have to report the findings to both this
Yes.
board
Right.
as well as the CUNY board.
Correct.
Got it.
And from there, then the management will make some decisions which
Go to
ones
the
to
next
push
steps.
forward.
Yeah.
RFPs.
Yeah. I mean, you just also, I know everybody here knows this, but DASNY holds the title.
Yes, DASNY holds title.
So the
and
state has title, so.
There's bonding issues to be
That's
resolved if we have to dispose of any property. There is consent.
Absolutely.
Correct. So yes,
Okay.
all of
So
those
we're all on the
considerations.
same page.
Yeah.
That is correct. All the
Right, that's
considerations.
all I'm asking.
Luckily, everyone sort of is on board that there is assets that are being fully utilized and
Right.
could be better utilized by the university. So everyone sort of is on board that this is a good exercise for the university to do. And we, since CUCF holds this requirements contract, and CUCF, under the master lease with DASNY, is actually the tenant under all these properties, is the right entity to affect this review and this report.
Great.
Other questions from Albany? I thought I heard something.
No.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. And this is where they're,
So an example, so we couldn't put in 300 buildings that we own, it's a lot of buildings, but we want to give an example of a possibility, and we've actually sort of started it. We did an RFEI, that's public information,
Right.
on North Hall. This is a picture of North Hall. And so we know that there's a 3-story building in North Hall right now, occupying about 290
4-story.
4-story. And so we know there's about 600,000 square feet of air rights. So we know in this facility, if we did a public-private partnership with somebody, we could actually sell their air rights, and someone could actually build us a brand-new facility for what we wanted. This building is really outdated. And so we can leverage that site that has a lot of value to then provide very good facilities the university then can really use. And so as an example of what this real estate consultant is going to do, this is like one of the properties that we know
Good.
will come out of that.
that's great. That's good. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
very much. Any other questions on this particular resolution? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Okay.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, it passes. The next item that I have is a walk-in item, which you may not have in front of me, but I'll read it to you. It's a resolution showing the recognition and appreciation that we have for distinguished service by Michael Walsh, who was a trustee and who is now retiring. And so I'd like to read the resolution, whereas Michael M. Walsh, in his position as trustee of the City University Construction Fund, has worked diligently to assist the fund and its Board of Trustees with the fund's mission to provide facilities that support the educational services of the City University of New York. And whereas Mr. Walsh has been a trustee of the fund since October 2015, and during his tenure has presided over numerous votes on major capital projects of the fund, and in doing so contributed to the success of the university's capital program. And whereas Mr. Walsh has indicated his desire to retire effective February 21st, 2020, and whereas Mr. Walsh's contributions, insights, perspective, and guidance to the fund and its Board of Trustees will be sorely missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City University Construction Fund's acting chairperson, Philip Berry, Alan Liu, and also the Board of Trustees acknowledge and extend their gratitude to Mr. Walsh for his dedicated service and notable contributions as trustee to the CUNY City University Construction Fund. And also be it further resolved that the fund at CUCF, we extend our best wishes to Mr. Walsh and his continued success as he takes on and to pursue other new opportunities. And so we really are, we really enjoyed his service. He's been diligent and worked with us very hard in a number of areas, and we will, of course, continue, but we continue with guidance and insight that he has provided while he is here. So he will be sorely missed. So I just is there any question on this? If not, can we get a motion to approve?
Motion.
And is there a second to that?
Second.
Good. Thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much. And we'll note this and send it to him.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
So the next item has to do with the report of the chair, and the only thing that I have to report is that two items. One is that as we continue to make a number of changes and changes throughout the university system, I just want to note how appreciative we are with the changing leadership, that we have, and also the assistance that we'll continue to get in continuing with our goals and objectives. And really glad to have you on board, helping us here. You've already been a very useful and resourceful and insightful person. So I just wanted to indicate that already, to indicate how pleased we are with that, and also with the fact that we have continued. There aren't too many people who, like Bob does, who you can call on and know how many fires we've had all throughout the system. So don't go anywhere. We're not doing any resolution for you at all. It is forbidden. And all of the other staff, of course, that we have around the room, including John and Gustavo and others who are here. I want to note that the next meeting is going to be May the 7th. That will be here. I don't believe that there is any. We also have to note that we have some committees, and which governance committee and audit committee.
Right.
And
So the governance committee, we scheduled May 18th for the governance committee. That was sort of the idea. So a regular meeting on May 7th, although we could, John, could
We generally do it before the end of the fiscal year.
Got it.
So-
Could we actually merge the two?
I'd rather combine it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
just in
Yeah.
terms of
Make it
time.
two separate
You can
sessions.
combine them, they're just two separate committees.
Yeah.
Correct, so then,
That would be fine, right?
Right.
so
Yeah.
is May 7 work for everybody, and then we'll combine them both?
At this time, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So we'll do May 7, 9 a.m. for the
Pardon?
governance.
Trustees in Albany, is that great? They good?
May 7?
That's fine.
Good.
Perfect.
Good.
Will be good.
So we'll have both that same day.
Fine.
Okay, good. No, then that works out fine. Let's see, I just want to see if there's any report from DASNY before I turn it over to no.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's worth noting that we had one resolution for a chiller replacement, plant replacement. We're doing quite a number of those right now. So there's at least 5 different chiller plants being upgraded at this point. I think it'll make a big difference with respect to energy efficiencies throughout campuses that those are being implemented in.
So, I mean, DASNY does a lot of projects for us which aren't taken to this committee because they're less than $10 million. I mean, so as Mike said, we're doing one ourselves. DASNY's doing another 5 for us. So it's not as if these are the only contracts that are underway on any of all of our campuses by any way, shape, or form. So,
And who's the new president?
I was gonna get into that.
Okay, all right, so I'll let you do it.
Should I say? Should I go?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
So recently, Bill Thompson, the chairman of the Board of Trustees, had arranged for a private meeting with new President Ruben McDaniel of DASNY. And he had the Chancellor, me, and Hector Batista attending. Good session, enjoyed it. And following that meeting that the chairman arranged, the DASNY reached out to us to set up a a kind of a senior staff meeting between CUNY and DASD, so Ruben, Daniels, and myself. And then I'm also scheduled to have lunch with the new DASD president a few days from that. We're also scheduling a session with the SCA, School Construction Authority president. So there's a lot of moving parts, and I think we're looking to get our arms around. You know, there's been obviously some changes, personnel, leadership at DASD as well as here, you know. The other thing I was going to mention to you is that I've had probably like 6 visits to campuses, you know, around our system. And then maybe 3 that are not full campus visits, but, you know, my friend here said, well, I don't know how you can count those. I said, I like to get extra credit for these little partners. And then there's about 4 or 5 that are already on the books, you know, in the next few weeks. Generally, when I go there, I bring Bob, I bring Gustavo and others, and then you know, it's a working session. And then also, you know, Chancellor has urged me to establish one-on-one relationships with the various college presidents. So we generally, you know, then we kind of walk up, you know, we separate and we spend an hour, you know, talking, and then we follow up with those discussions. So it's been a good process. It's for me to get familiar with the various pieces of the big pie, you know, and for our people also to report on where we are with things, you know. So even at last visit we had the other day with John Jay, there was a DASNY executive that was also with us at that session. So actually these are good, not only education for me, but also a chance for our people to you know, to go over where we are with things, and then also you know, the college staff is involved with us, and you know, explaining to us their concerns, maybe for the future as well as, you know, where things are now. You know. Okay.
I think the reason why I think that this is ultra important is because we have I don't know how many searches, Trustee Oberfeld. We have like about 9
Yeah, it feels like 10,
presidential
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
searches.
it's a lot.
I know I'm involved in one of them, and
I'm involved with searches too. You know, so I said through, and I think I'm in. I think from a phasing standpoint, it's like after you guys get through a lot of the large groups down to like the finalists, that's when me and several other of the vice chancellors get pulled into, you know, to that process. So it's been a very, you know, I mean, this list has been growing.
Oh, yeah, no, and it's important for people to understand the role of the construction fund. Understand what we do, how we do it, the resource, and then also what we've done, you know, and how we've been intricately involved in helping to further the educational goals of the university through our work. So they really need to know that, and they need to know that we're a resource. And also, as we take into account our learnings from that, it would be interesting at another report sometime, maybe May would be too soon, but maybe after that, we'd like to understand what your learnings are,
Okay.
you know,
Love
and then
it.
also if there are any actions,
So
forward actions.
one of the things that happened just recently is, you know, we had a conference call with SUNY, and with SUNY, with my counterparts at SUNY, where we talked about the governor's budget includes a rather novel, creative initiative, which is a 2-to-1 matching fund for senior colleges, and we talked about, you know, how, you know, our own concerns and where we feel, you know, how we feel about the, you know, the proposal. Of course, we're very excited about it. We all think it's a great proposal. Mm-hmm. We're both encouraging that the initiative be replicated the next year, the year after, so that it's not just a one-time thing. And then during that session, as we're about to close the session, my counterpart at SUNY and I talked about getting together and having a private one-on-one in the very near future. So which is good. I think it allows us to really kind of ensure that our universe is, you know, is connecting all the dots at this point. You know?
That's great. No, that's good. That's very good. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Are there any other questions? We've been able to complete in our usual timely manner.
Good.
And so there's a motion to adjourn and
Motion.
approve. Yep, there we go. I approve it, and I want to wish everybody well and continued safety and health.
Right.
You know, until we meet again.
Stay out of China.
You have a second?
Okay.
Take care.
All right.